All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, August 14th of 2020, and this is the Realty Classroom Sales Training Call. It's my favorite day of the week because we like to sell stuff in this business, don't we? We just don't like to manage it, right, Gail? That's the key here, right? So we're going to get started with, and I don't know if Autumn's on yet, but Autumn and I have had a really interesting past couple of months here as we've, again, telemarketer to outside sales agent combination. We've had an interesting month of development whereby we have been able to make a lot of progress together, understand the process better. I've been able to teach this pro telemarketer. She came in a pro telemarketer. I've been able to teach her slowly but steadily what this business is really like. She's learned how to gain her patience for the process. So there's a lot of stuff that we've learned together over the last several months. Okay. So more recently than not, one of the things that Autumn has begun to recognize and understand is that you can pursue something that you really want. In her case, she's very adamant, like I am, about pursuing how we do with luxury. And luxury is a different challenge. There are different players at that level. There are different perceptions of marketing and follow-up and systems, but not very different from what is standard throughout. And in fact, I have enjoyed moving much more into luxury because what I find is that my value proposition, that I have a professional plan that I can give you and guide you through, is very well received. But be careful of what you perceive as keeping you from any kind of business and professionalizing yours against it. A lot of you perceive that, hey guys, try to mute your mics when you come in here, okay? Let me just see. I'm going to mute you all. There we go. So the idea is, as you move into this business, if you're new and you're listening as a new agent, if you've been in it a long time and you're stuck in one mode and you don't believe that you could move up to higher level business, or you don't believe you could service the crowd you already have better, that's not right. And that's all caused by misperception and your own. In fact, I'm going to do a podcast for the bonus section this week called Don't Be the Problem, right? And the idea is, it is always something about our lens, the way that we see the world, the way that we believe it works, that is juxtaposed against reality. And there are a lot of people that have already broken through that are successful in this business, and you perceive they're smarter than you. They have more degrees than you do. They're whatever, better than you. And that's just not right. Because as Autumn's moved into that higher end with me, and we've gone and pursued this better business, what she's finding is the reality is that some of the best brokers and some of the top brokers really don't have a plan. They don't have a system. They're saying very old school things that are resume-ish driven. They're not really value, or I have a buyer and they don't have a buyer. So there's some really weird things that go on in this business. And I'm telling you, if you will hear me loudly and clearly say that if you have a plan, and you stick to the plan, you begin to eliminate you as the problem, and your higher level of service begins to ascend above the competition, even if you perceive those top producers to be really stiff competition. It's amazing when you walk in with a plan and you execute it and you educate people, how well received you are. Just happened to me again this morning in another house. They don't know me, but they know one of my big competitors. I walked in, I said, well, here's the way that I would look at it mathematically. Here's the process. They were just floored that anybody would come in that organized. And they were pleasantly surprised. In fact, the irony was, I said, and don't sell this place. That's what I said to them. Don't sell it. It's a mistake to sell this place. It's a one of a kind. You can't replace it unless you have a really good reason, a really good place to go. And that turns somebody into, and I didn't do this nefariously. It was all in the open. I become their go-to guy now for real estate and referrals. That's sphere of influence. This is what this business really acts like. That's today. I'm giving a real anecdote from today, okay? So I want you to understand that as we go through that connection, we spend almost too much time right now in telemarketing. So Chris Kleba and I are going to move into a discussion about outside sales and those connections. And I'm going to say, there are a lot of outside sales agents that attend this call and not enough of them ask questions. And for whatever reason, You are never going to advance yourself if you sit there waiting for somebody to come and magically do it for you. Nobody is coming for you. I've been saying it for years. Nobody is coming for you. I'm here at the 50-yard line trying to teach you, trying to share with you, sure, but I cannot come and sell a house for you. I cannot read your mind. I don't know what you're thinking. So I need to know what you're thinking. I need to know what you're challenged by. I need to know what worries you, what does keep you up at night, right? So that we can deal with it here today. So please get in here, be active, share what's going on with you, and we'll go from there. All right. Chris Kleber, you are first, and you can unmute your microphone, and we will take it. Right? You there?
Hey, what's up, Danny? Long time no talk.
Yeah. All right. So you have a new agent that's with us here today. Is that right?
I've got Alex here. He's brand new. Doesn't even have MLS access yet. So that's how.
Okay.
That's how new he is.
Cool.
Comes from the restaurant world and wants to kill it.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Hi, Alex.
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. So, Alex, when you look at this business and you come from a lot of, good background and you're doing things well in another industry and decide to come into this one, talk a little bit about your perception. Forget about what we're going to teach you, but what do you perceive is going to happen and what do you hope is going to happen? Just throw some of that out there. Give me something to chew on with Chris so that we can take it in a direction that serves you best.
What I'm looking to do is just build a network off of leads and off of my existing sphere that I have.
Okay.
And just that and make that business grow from the leads we get and just the people I already know. Coming in new without any experience I feel like that's where I have to start.
Okay.
But also getting a good plan together, which is what I've been working on with some of the training stuff and the onboarding we've been doing. So yeah, that's my take on just stepping in, fresh, not having any experience doing it.
Okay. Chris, have you given him a copy of the free agent plan?
It's right here, Danny.
Okay, good. Alex,
the plan is right on my screen.
Yeah. Alex,
I just printed for him.
Alex, you're going to go through that. That's your homework. Because what you need right off the bat is a wireframe. And I wish somebody had kicked me in the tail and said, you need a wireframe. And I knew I did, but unfortunately, in this business, there really wasn't one. And it took me a long time before I found what I thought was a pretty good one. And I was able to run with it. But still, even then, up until about 8 years ago, when I started the TRC, was I able to really understand you need to chunk this up first and spend a little bit of time. Michael Gerber, the author of the E-Myth, talks about the concept of working on your business. And what that means is if you can take a strategic perspective before you even get into it, you get off in a better direction. Right. And so we don't want to have you going off in a perceptive way. Well, I think as a new agent, I have to do this. You should never have that uncertainty under our watch. Right. You should read through the free agent course, which discuss basic concepts, big chunky concepts, such as this is a business, not a job. So even though you've joined, the gang over there, there are ways to treat it like a business. And there are already formulas. And I say formulas, basic ones, they're in place that you can take off on. But the next chunk in that thing that he's going to give you and put in front of you is how to market yourself to attract people. See, this is a sales training call, but yet we don't ever understand that we can't just run out and sell. We actually have to get that business footing and we have to position ourselves with marketing. The better the marketing is, the less of a sale there is. So when we do our training here tactically about telemarketing, outbound calls, or we talk about what it's like to run an open house strategically, we always talk about having some marketing material in the form of a plan that we can give to the seller or the buyer, depending on who we end up in front of, or just globally to position ourselves. So as a business and a new sales business, you come in and say, look, I've got this sphere of influence because you just said what everybody says. I'm going to go after the people I know. Great. Now get tactical. The first thing a guy does like you is he looks at his list. Does he even have one? And maybe it's all the people that like you and are friends with you on social. That's a list. That's a viable list. Do you come from another business in the restaurant where you kept a list? are their names of clients, because all you're trying to do is reposition yourself as a real estate professional. This all precedes a sale. So you're repositioning yourself. See, I know, like, and trust you already from the restaurant business per se. You said restaurant, right? Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I already know, like, and trust you in that context, but I have no idea that I can now trust you. I could take that know, like, and trust over and transfer it to my real estate needs. I have no idea. So the very first step that you take is a repositioning to market yourself as this person. And the first people you do it to, you're right, you fish off the dock. Who already knows you in this business and life context, and you reintroduce yourself as a real estate professional, okay? But the quick feedback would be that everybody's going to say, oh, another real estate agent, oh, another guy getting into real estate, right? So we have to come to you today and say, look, what you're going to see from us to help you and why you're with Chris is we have a plan for agents, but we also have one subsequently for seller or buyer. And so when you position yourself, you're not just a guy with a license, you're a guy with a plan. Very simple, very simple. I have a plan for you. Now, the teaching that we go over and over, and we just did one yesterday called Campfire. Every other week, we go over the seller plan, then the buyer plan, then the seller plan, then the buyer plan. So it becomes rooted in you that you are not doing this on muscle. You're not doing this on personality. You're not doing this on relationship from the past. You are doing it based on a plan. All those things that are relational may help them listen with a little bit of trust. But until you can prove to your family, your friends, your business associates that you truly are a professional, you're starting off on the wrong foot. I'm saying that generically to anybody. So once you read the agent plan, you'll then understand, I've got to position myself as a professional to all these people, but I also have to articulate to them what makes me unique. And what makes me unique is ironically quite simple. I have a plan for sellers. Well, you know, there's this company down here in Lake Norman. They do a lot of, I understand that. And I appreciate where you're coming from. But humor me. Let me go over my 7-step plan so that you're properly prepared to sell your house. Humor me. I know you're out there running around looking at houses on Zillow, Redfin, but humor me for a second. Just take a look at my plan, because it's not just a step, a thing. And this is what Autumn, my telemarketer, had a huge epiphany around this week, that the perception of the seller in the buyer, before you can ever sell them something, needs to be cleansed. Their lens needs to be cleansed. Let me give you some tactical examples. So at the high end especially, and when we're in our downtown Boston market, they can be really snarky and quick with Autumn on the phone, or even me. Well, do you have a buyer? Have you sold property here before? Those are two of the things that people like want to kind of tap you in the forehead with a little soft jab. Boom, boom. So you have to be able to understand, say, look, we get those questions all the time. But when you ask that question, do you have a buyer? You're actually setting yourself up for some real challenges, if not some failure. And what I mean by that is we have buyers once we have the full plan in place. But if you're asking me if I'm just randomly walking around with a random buyer who matches up with your property, the answer is not at the moment. It could happen, but that's not how a house gets sold. How a house gets sold is by considering the entirety of the plan. And the reason you're expired doesn't necessarily have anything to do with whether I have a buyer, the next person has a buyer. It has a problem, a plan problem. Right? Yep. And so we go into, guys, somebody talking? We good? Chris, we good? Alex, we good? Because I get you guys in the hot seat. Unless that was Chris that had to take a call. So
sorry, Danny. Somebody was coming in our office here.
Okay. Hit him with a taser, will you? Sales trainers. I know you have one too. So the idea is, as I go into those conversations tactically, if it's a phone call, if it's a friend at a party, whatever, you're always got the safety net of saying, oh yeah, we have a plan for that. I joined Chris because they have a plan. That's why I went there. They have a plan and they execute that plan. We don't care really who we're up against, and we think you should consider the plan. That's the mentality that we will begin to beat into your psychology. Training takes time. To hear that word plan over and over and to trust it. But I just caught a lot of the mastermind members yesterday, Alex, doing something that I can reset right now with somebody new like you. Read from cover to cover the agent plan first because you're new. Make marks on it. Chris, what does this mean? Danny, what does this mean? What do I do with this? Well, how do I incorporate this? And get a feeling for it. Then go through the seller plan. Then go through the buyer plan. It's homework, but it will change the trajectory of your success and make it way more vertically oriented than this horizontal grind by doing it the hard way. Chris, you want to add to this?
No, I like it. I think Alex is probably spinning out right now thinking, wow, I didn't know that that real estate was really like this.
Yep.
I think everybody perceives the business as you jump in and you just do it.
Correct.
Fake it till you make it, fail forward, figure it out as you go along. So I think it's important, and I think the Three Stooges will as well. I think it's important to develop this stuff. Alex is going to be working through the working system stuff as well, the point system that you and I have talked about. So I can imagine he's sitting here spinning out right now.
All right, well, go ahead, Alex. Think out loud. We don't need to guess. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, just so far, I've been working on the Workman Systems platform that our team uses. So, you know, this new agent stuff that you just gave, that Chris is giving me, I feel like the more the merrier. It's only going to help me.
Well, be careful of that, though. Be careful of that because I don't agree with that. It's not the more the merrier. Without a strategy that underlies it, there can be guidance in each piece of it. Same for me. I'm giving you a wireframe that no matter where the more and merry comes from, it has to fit into somewhere in the plan because otherwise you're going to get paralyzed. Too much information is too much information. I've been doing this for 21 years, and I'll tell you what, I try to simplify it every week for myself. Where is the face-to-face conversation I need to be today to affect a positive outcome for a seller I'm serving or a buyer I'm serving? And then I work backwards from there. So everything is still very human. This is the service business. We actually don't sell houses. We guide people to sell their house and we guide people to buy a house, right? So we actually have to understand that when you serve like that, keep it simple. This system, that system. There's a general wireframe for generally how this business works. Somebody could debate me a little bit, but what you have in the agent plan is where things fit in. It's not juxtaposed. It's not, nobody wants to talk about a wireframe for strategy. So just read it. And when you're done with that, then you'll have a perspective of what I'm saying. But let's move off of it so we don't confuse you when we roll into this. Chris, you want to give me an anecdote on the outside sale? Anything there? I asked you to maybe if you had something we could talk about, or anybody else who's on the call wants to bring up an outside sales anecdote, and I'll do some telemarketing at the end, but we have dominated the call with outside sales. Autumn, I was waiting for you to come in. I'm going to unmute you. This is my telemarketer, Autumn. I wanted you to talk a little bit about your insights here that you have had recently. There you go. Autumn?
Okay. Are you talking about what we discussed last night?
Yes.
Okay.
You came in a little after I started, so I gave a little bit of the update, but to give a fresh perspective, and especially on the tails of what Alex was just, talking about with me, is you're learning real estate here too. And
Right.
You're learning that it's, maybe even a little nefarious, right? That maybe we get into this planned thing versus unplanned. Talk to that as somebody who's been in the business only 16, 17 months.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say about that is that one day I was driving into work, and I always look back at this, and I was just musing on real estate, and I thought to myself, this business would be completely impossible without a system. And I said, thank God I'm with Danny because he's already been here at this thought and he's creating a system. So, for example, there was a $5 million house that I had worked hard on. I even hand delivered the packet to the man. And all of a sudden, somebody came in, and after months of working on it, another realtor came in and, in my eyes, just swiped it out from under me. And it got listed with this other realtor. Then it went pending. So, to be honest with you, I cried, not when it went pending, but when it got swiped, and Danny was like, don't cry, but it was like, it was so hard for me as this being my first, I'd worked so hard on it. So what ended up happening was I noticed all of a sudden it comes through on the email that the house has been canceled. The listing has been canceled. So I'm utterly confused because I know that if it was a deal being wrapped up, they would have to say withdrawn, but canceled is a different story. So I ended up calling the man and his wife, didn't hear from them, and he's been very good about always calling me back. So I tried him again last night. Turns out that this other realtor, well, let me back up a little bit. In the conversation, the gentleman says to me, look, I just want you to bring me a buyer, because I had already determined he wasn't going to go back with this other realtor. He had reasons why he had canceled. And the reason was he needed a conservation certificate, which was going to take 2 to 3 months. And what he told me was, well, we mutually decided to cancel it. And I'm thinking no real estate agent worth his salt would do that. But I keep my mouth shut and I ask him 3 different times, are you going to go back? Very directly, because I'm very direct. Are you going to go back with this other realtor when you get the conservation certificate? And the answer continued to be no. So I kept talking with him. I talked to him for about a half an hour. And what I found out when he was telling me bring a buyer was that this other realtor had gotten in with him because he brought a buyer. Well, lo and behold, the buyer's money fell through. Now, I don't know how your money falls through on a $5 million. I mean, why even step there if you don't think, if you can only get approved for $3 million? So my thought was, did the realtor grab this listing because the gentleman said to me, well, he brought a buyer, but the buyer said he wanted me to list. And I'm thinking, what? None of this is making sense. And I think this man knows what happened and he's just trying to cover it because it's embarrassing. My suspicion is that a fake buyer was brought in. Now, this is not written in stone, but what it's starting to look like is that a fake buyer was brought in and the listing was insisted upon. So the realtor got 2 months with the guy, and then the gentleman kicked him to the curb because the buyer fell through. Now, the polite excuse is that there's a conservation certificate that needs to be had. Okay, so I get all of that. But, in talking with Danny last night, I came up with, all of a sudden the picture opens up to me. And I came up with this line. When they say to me, bring me a buyer, I'm going to say to them, why would you waste your time like that? You're opening yourself up for shenanigans. Without going into detail and we never diss the competition, never, right. ever. Right. But saying, why would you do that to yourself? You don't need a buyer, you need a plan. And that part was
there. You go. Everybody get that? You don't need a buyer, you need a plan.
You don't need a buyer. So when they tell you, bring me a buyer, there's all kinds of people out there that may not be biggie big, or they may be biggie big realtors that are going to grab anybody and say, I got you a buyer. Yeah. And then, but you need to have me list it for you while we get the deal done.
Yeah. And that could, and again, that could not be, but it's still, see, what's happening is people, let me just explain this. Realtors are developing systems around the misperceptions of the sellers and the buyers. Let me repeat that. Realtors, the industry, even at the very highest level, realtors are coming up with systems that serve the misperceptions, which ultimately, and I'm not saying everybody's nefariously doing this. They're just saying, all right, if you're just going to keep asking me for a buyer, I'm going to bring one. Guy has weak financing or whatever. I'm going to bring a body through and I'm going to say, okay, now give me the listing. So this has happened a couple times at Luxury. One I think was probably legit, but again, same thing. Guy walked supposedly on COVID. Could be true. I don't know. But the point being is that you have to become fully cognizant that this is a very guttural business, that this is just down home, ugly, in the street fight. So all you newbies that are coming into the business and you think it's all about digital, you don't have a clue. You don't know what you don't know. It starts in the mud. And that's what you have to understand is the basics of this business. When you go take your test and you get out there, that's great. It's all the technical, like I told Autumn's taking her test. She got to go through all the technical and tactical stuff and the legalities of the business. It's very important, yes, but that ain't the business, folks. The business is there are people that are going to out hustle you to the conversation with the person who has the context to buy or sell. And if you're sitting obliviously up in the bleachers waiting for somebody to come to you and you don't have a plan, you're dead. I'm just going to warn you, you're dead. That's why half of the realtors in one of my MLSs, the Cape Cod and Islands MLS, plus or minus half, sell nada every year. They pay dues and it's a zero. Not this year because it's good. It'll go down. But that's what it was like. And the national average, I don't know what the typical realtor, that typical, I didn't know was a statistic until NAR came up with it. Average is about 3. So that is a very simple problem to understand. If you only do that, even if you're part-time, it means you don't have a plan. You don't have something that's rinsable, repeatable, and scalable. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's true with any business. I could be giving business advice in general to small business people. You've got to have a plan. Now the problem is nobody wakes up and says, can't wait to have a plan. But I mean a full plan, a chunked up simplistic version, A to Z, how's this business work? So now you come back to that, and that's what Autumn's learning here and expressing to you. The business works off of listings, period. Tell yourself any other story you want. Become a buyer's agent, whatever you want, it works off of listings. If there is not a way to go and get listings on the regular, then that's where you start, everybody. And so when you look at that and you start there, you have to say, okay, I have a plan that told me it's a business, not a job, that I better position myself as the unique agent with a plan for what? Sellers. So the next plan is the simple 7 steps, universal. They apply to every seller. These are globally 7 steps that every seller goes through A to Z. And there's a 5th grade version that you understand and should be able to articulate. Okay. Because this is just the wire stitching. Think about a tightrope walker. That's what you are as a small business person. In this case, real estate agent. You're up on a tightrope and you could fall off all the time. But if you stitch the net below you with plans, with systems, then you don't come crashing down and spinning outside the business. You live to crawl up the ladder and try again. So the idea is we learn about our own agent plan. So we have context. Where am I at in the growth of my business? What today for new agent? What today for 17 months in as a telemarketer? What today 21 years in as a pro and a teacher? Because I am making adjustments every single day. So that's the concept of what Autumn's learning right now is that, wow, because let me take you back in my perception in teaching her. She was using our system for follow-up. There was a slight mistake in the way something was tagged. So the time between where she had built relationship and to where she went, it left a window open and the thief crawled through the window. Okay. And that's competition. We say a little tongue in cheek, thief. Somebody else came in and said something that at the time we didn't know. And she got mad and she's yelling and swearing at, not swearing. She doesn't swear, but she's yelling at, she's yelling at our database. And then she's freaking out on me. This thing's broken. I've got it. Okay. So I let it all cool down. We went in and we looked at it and we could see one little slight tagging issue. That's all. We're figuring it out. We're making it easier for Autumn, but that's a system that has been hand stitched together. So the net is tight and it was a little bit wide. So one slipped through, but the great news is we got a chance to do an autopsy. Why did it slip through? Well, it wasn't really even that. It was that somebody else had called and they, in Autumn at the time, didn't know. She didn't know how to handle this. Do you have a buyer? Bring me a buyer. She probably didn't even hear it when the guy said it. But now she's ready for it. So that gap won't exist. Well, look at, if you keep asking all the agents that, you run the risk of having some shenanigans or somebody just take a one-off. And our feeling is you don't need just one buyer. You need a plan that'll bring multiple buyers. That's the best way to say it. Okay. So you have to consider the whole thing. Let me get you a copy of our plan. You take a look at what I'm talking about because there's more. That's only one question you should be wondering about. In fact, we don't think it's a good one. We think you should be asking all these. So whether you hire us or not, take the plan. Well, that positioning to set up the sale, okay? And the sale really in our business isn't until a contract is written for the home, but the sale of the service so that they move from prospect to client has to be set up this way. And I don't care when I was talking to Alex, whether it's his friends and his family, who we all go to first, right? And you don't just send them some nebulous thing that says, hey, I'm in real estate. You say, look, I'm in real estate. I want you to see the Lake Norman market update. You know, I'm going to be sending this out, put it on social every month. And he positions himself. If you know of anybody that needs to sell or buy now or in the near future, I'd love to share a copy of our plan. Not, I'd love to sell their house. I'd love you to refer them to me. We can't wait to skip steps as professionals. We just can't wait. We always want what we want, but we won't give people what they need first so that they come to us and that sale to become a client is smooth and logical at that point. Okay. Autumn, anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to say that the beauty of the situation for me, since I did cry over losing it, you know, to another agent, getting it up on the market, is that I have another shot now, and I learned this huge lesson. So, you know, I'm going very slow picking my way, but I'm going to have that conversation with them and there are other issues with him that I will speak with him about, but I'm also going to have that conversation about, you know, you don't need a buyer, you need multiple buyers, as Danny said, you need a plan. And I'm just so excited that I'm getting another shot and that I learned how dirty this business can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're just presuming, and I think it's okay to presume it's dirty. I think
if you look at that, somebody, you know, Heather's saying that the top agents in her area would bring fake buyers all the time because that's the sure shot way to get across the threshold and then sell yourself. I think that's a cheap shot. It never would have occurred to me to do something like that.
Well, right, because we're trying to build a benevolent system that serves first, trusting that service first will have inbound. And you've already experienced that early on in your career when you sent these packages out, you had multiple people inbound the return call. You didn't have to go get them because once they saw it was legitimately a plan, that you didn't just say it, you actually delivered it, and it was helpful. You even flipped some people into inbound calls, which was the validation for you that, Eureka, that actually is the right way to do it, right? So, and like if
I mean, you know, I can take the loss of the deal before I'm going to be a dishonest person. It's just that simple.
Well,
that's my credo.
Yeah, well, you know, on my watch, we could fold the whole TRC and GRG tent up and leave because we're not doing anything that's not honest.
That's right.
Period. Integrity is the most important thing here in the way that we do it. All right, let's go. By the way, let me just reiterate why this happens, though. We keep letting the consumer's misperception dictate how we do business. That's right. And that's why top producers just quit, because it's so much easier to just do that, which borders on nefarious. It borders on lying, you know, and I'm not even saying these are bad people. This just, after a while, if you get beat on, you're going to bring a buyer. You're going to be, yep, sure. I'll bring a buyer. Here he is.
I think it's poor salesmanship. I really do.
It's laziness. It's laziness. Yeah. And that's why in the long run, a good plan absolutely will just crush competition like that. All right, let's move on. Somebody give me an outside sales challenge, anything, whether you're a new agent or whatever. I want to know an outside sales challenge because I'd like to start to incorporate in this call, not just the script that we have, but at the listing presentation or for a buyer open house. Those are always two good examples from the outside I can start you off on if you'll throw me an anecdote or a question about that. So you're all muted. You just have to unmute your mic. So go ahead and do that. Tracy, were you trying to ask me something? Because your mic went open there. Come on, guys. If you're a team member of somebody, you need to be in here right now with me. Let me hear from somebody.
Since nobody's jumping in, Danny, I'll put Alex back on the spot here if that's cool.
Yeah, Alex, you couldn't wait to come in here and get beaten on a Friday. Okay, clever. Would have been nice if you could have bought the guy a helmet or something, you know?
Yeah. No, he didn't. Alex didn't do anything wrong. I met Alex at like 10 o'clock last Friday night to give him a bunch of open house signs because he was doing an open house on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And he looked as nervous as a hooker in church, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, no matter less access, like what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
So if so, that's probably the only challenge that Alex has had is.
Well, that's good. Well, let's deal with that. You're giving me something that's real. Yeah. You give it. Oh, hang on, guys. Guys, just remember you have live mics here, okay? So the idea here is, let me show you, Alex. It's never far away from me. Here are my 3 plans, all right, in mailable packages. If I had one with me and I just took one to a presentation and I was bringing it live to an open house or a presentation, the same material that's in here would be in a black folder. And there are variables that I put in there. So I'm going to open one of these and I'm going to show you, but first let me tell you the process. Everything should have a system. And when I heard they threw you with meat tenderizer, all over you into an open house without giving you instruction, I nearly threw up in my mouth for you, right? Because you're set up to miss opportunity. That's what makes it more sickening. Let's say there's a great open house and you can borrow that inventory because, like I said in the beginning, we have to stop denying that this business is driven off of listings, because it is. Without the inventory, there's nothing to sell. So why don't we be the ones that go out and get the inventory and control it? So next.
Hey, Danny. So just so you have context here, like somebody on our team said, "Hey, who can do an open house tomorrow? I'm out of town."
And he was game. I get it.
Yeah.
I get no. I don't need that context. I need to show him how somebody, like, he's bold enough to do it. But see, the problem with the person who offered it also doesn't have a plan, right?
No question. He's a brand new agent too.
Period. So we have the blind leading the blind. And I mean that in a positive way. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why I shared Autumn's evolution. She didn't know any of this until yesterday. And we talked through it for an hour. And now we got better. So we come back to the open house, which is perfect. This is what I was hoping somebody would ask me. People can't believe you do open houses. You better believe I do open houses. It's the fastest way to get my listing sold because I can proactively talk about the property, get feedback, talk to my seller in the same day. If we need to adjust something needs to be done, price needs to be adjusted, whatever it might be. We have some clients right now that we love. We've gone out. I've done an open house. Agents have done open houses, 2 price reductions, and we finally got it right. Multiple offers, full price, right? So the idea is that open house is the marketplace. So we sit here in these studios, in these rooms, and COVID protected, when I keep telling you this is an in the mud business. So you have to be in these houses, whether you're trying to list it or whether you're trying to sell it, get buyers to come to it. That's where the market is, not online. The market's in the house. Online is supplementary. It's the support actor way back in the back of the stage. So when I go to an open house, Alex, I am prepared with, I don't know which one's which here. Let me just see. I'll pull it. Seller and buyer. So the materials that would be in this, I would have ready for me. Okay. I would have comps of other properties that are available and have sold in that area. I would have a market update. So, because people want to know how's the market, and I would have the cheat sheet version of the buyer plan, and I would have the full version of the buyer plan. And I would have all of this material ready because this is what buyers need curated or organized for them. They might not know that. They might have the delusion that, oh, isn't Zillow and Redfin wonderful, as they run around and make mistake after mistake. So I'm sitting there professionally ready for them to come through the door with their little Zillow app. Found you on Zillow. Wonderful. Seller has asked that everybody signs in. So if you'd like, you wouldn't mind doing so, the sheet is right there. When you're done doing that, the full listing sheet for this property, pictures and details, is right next to it. Then I shut up. Fill it, take it, go. I can't believe how many people, here we go again. You will run your open houses based off of the way people you think are going to react when open says, oh, well, I'm just the neighbor. That's okay. The seller still asked. It's their house. And I'm saying this a little bit more aggressively than I would. Sellers ask for security purposes that everybody signs in. So if you wouldn't mind doing so, and then the sheet, if you want it or not, that's okay too. But this is your open house. This is your system. This is your seller or your teammates or your company's listing. You are there to control the process. So you sit in a spot where your system is physically in place. Think about it. If you went to an opt-in page and somebody had to opt in to get something, it happens on the internet every single minute semisecond. So when you go physical, where I would rather be any day, I want my same opt-in sheet there. Now, you can tell me you have an agent, and I can see that, and I'll respect that, but you came here with or without them. There's the sheet. Enjoy the house. And I'll kind of take a glance down, make sure you're filling out at least some information, make sure you're taking it, right? And whatever the case might be, boom. Now, lay back. This is somebody you don't know. Now we're out of your sphere of influence. Now we're not asking your family every week, do you know somebody? Do you know somebody? Do you know somebody? We're in a real live marketplace where real live people are coming through, and we're having them sign in, and we're laying back. And when they're done signing in, beat number one is finished. The same thing we talk about in telemarketing that we talk about in outside sales moments, like an open house. Beat number one is finished. They've signed in, they've taken the sheet. By the way, you folks looking for yourselves? Let them answer. Yes, we have. Yes, we are. Wonderful. How's it going? We're just getting started. Or, geez, we're having a lot of trouble. Or whatever. Now I'm engaged in a professional context of where are they at? Really, how come you're making a move? That's the why question. Why are you moving? Why are you thinking about moving? Now I'm listening. Is it a real reason? And does it sound like there's urgency in it? Wow, that's a pretty big reason. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you? 10. Now, I'm not saying I would use all that language, because on the phone, I need that bracketed language because they can't see me. We're not experiencing something. It's not what's called a kinesthetic experience or a live physical human experience. Okay? The open house is. So I still have that guiding system, which is identical to the way that we bracket things on a telemarketing call. But in this case, I don't have to ask to send the info, because I start with first what they want, which is the listing sheet for the house they just came to. And then I start to listen for the why. And I say, oh, by the way, you might be interested in one of these packages that I put together. Now, again, this is a mailing package. For the next call, I'll bring in some of the presentation packages. I would have a couple of seller and a couple of buyer, where I'm going to determine, is that somebody who's my avatar? Is this somebody who has a real reason why, and that they're engaging in an agreeable type of atmosphere? Did they sign in without a big argument? Did they take the sheet, give me a big smile, answer my questions? I'm watching. They're agreeable. Hey, now I step in to see if they're coachable. Hey, looks like you've been running around for a bit. I took the liberty to put together a bunch of pictures and details of other properties that are available in this area, but more importantly, some that have sold so you can see what the money's buying. And I threw in a copy of my plan and a market update. Why don't you take one of these? Now, I don't ask for anything, but I give them the same information I am willing to mail to somebody who I outbound call with Autumn, or I would get an inbound inquiry, whatever. I'm going to send them the information that gets them started in a strategic and organized way. Now, a lot of people are going to cringe and go, you give them pictures and details of other properties that are available. What if they go call the other sign? What if they go call the other sign? What am I going to do? I'm trying to demonstrate professionalism, because I know that even if they go into 5 other open houses, it is going to be a very minute possibility they are treated as professionally as I'm about to treat them. There's a very minute possibility that they're going to get anywhere close to the semblance of a guidance plan for free. So I'm already working my unique selling proposition by being that organized, and I give it to them. And no less than 3 people in the last 90 days, because since we got so busy and we had some COVID limitations, I actually got busy doing these deals. They were selling quickly. I didn't even have a chance to get in some of these great houses to do open houses. But prior to that, I had 3, 4 people. 1, I converted into a buyer client right there and then in the house. 2, sent me an email after getting this info, asking if I was taking on any more buyer clients. So the power of doing people right through this integrity-based program, magnetizes them in so that the sale, this is a sales training call, so that the sale of becoming my client is a logical conclusion. There's no push, there's no headlock, there's no hard sell, there's no scaring them, there's none of that. All of those other techniques are built out of allowing the perception of the buyer who's standoffish, who's just sort of coming in and sniffing around. In prospects pursued, like run away. We know that. Hey, you working with anybody? Really? Well, you know, I could set you up in this. No. Here, let me give you this. Here's what's in it. Now, when they call me back or I call them, hey, don't know if you had a chance to drive by any of those other houses and you wanted some more information. Thanks for coming by the open house this weekend. Really appreciate it. Right? Yeah, you know, we saw a couple, but we got confused. And, you know, could you, there we go. Could you help us with, yep, let me set you up. What I gave you was a snapshot, but if you tell me a little bit more about what you really want, we'll refine it and we'll automate it so that it'll be in your email every day. And if you see anything you like, we can talk about it. But what I'd like to do, since you had a real reason to sell, if you can pick 3 or 4 of your favorites with Laura, I'll go out and show them to you so I can kind of coach you a little bit about what I see for value. And that's how this all works. It's a process, right? But I am just mind blown that my agents, all of you are not obsessively saying, I hear this guy. I'm going to go sit in an open house for a 4-hour shift. If you had to go work for corporate America or corporate Canada, depending on where you're listening today or wherever, you'd have to go do an 8-hour shift with a lunch break. But yet we won't go sit in an open house with our laptop open, doing other work if nobody's coming, and leveraging the time and being prepared to present our services in that context, which is in the mud, not on the line, not hoping on the line, online, right? Online, somebody's miraculously going to show up and say, you know, I'd love you to be my buyer, client. I don't know you from Adam, but I see you online. Why don't you just come over and sell my house? It just doesn't work like that. All right. Thoughts about that? Questions about that?
Hey, Danny.
Egan, roll it.
Awesome stuff. Alex, you still listening?
Yes.
Awesome. Different Alex. Alex Casilli. Sorry, we got 2 Chris's and 2 Alexes on the call. I have a new agent named Alex who's listening in. I didn't know if he was still hanging.
Alex is still there? Chris Egan's Alex.
Yep. Oh, well. Good shoot. Guess he hopped off. Sorry. I've got all of us got a new agent that's coming on board in a couple of weeks listening in, and then Alex, a new agent, came on board with me.
Good. Excellent. Well, remember, training is a sit still 60-minute thing. Training every Friday is a 60-minute sit still thing. You hear what I'm saying? If you're all sitting at home and there's 16 things going and you're monkeying around with your phone, it's just going to take me longer to help you be successful. The more focused you can be, the better your business will become faster. Those people, I mean, I know when I train top producers, when they sit still and they listen and they implement a little and they implement a little, the accumulation is so quick. You can listen to Autumn. Autumn is forced to train with me because it's part of our agreement. She's on the Campfire bi-weekly and on weekly, and that's why it's accelerated. And she's talking about a $5 million listing. Sure, Chris, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say he called in versus Zoom.
Good, cool. He can open his mic. I don't need him. Yeah.
Okay, I'll open this mic and see if I can do that.
Yeah. What number is he on? What's it start with? What's the preface?
Hey Chris, it's Elena.
Hey,
I'm
Elena.
on 2.
Yeah.
Hi, Elena.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm in the car, so I'm going to turn my mic on.
Okay, no sweat. All good. Elena, thank you for checking in. I appreciate that. Now,
Alex on the 502-956-0427.
Yep. I got him. Hang on. Here you come, Alex. All right, buddy. Go ahead. I just unmuted you.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. I've been on these calls for the last couple of weeks.
Awesome.
But, always right in the middle of something. So
Yeah.
been listening in, absorbing as much as I can.
Okay. Well, the key is what we learned at the mastermind level yesterday was that not enough of even my own clients who run these teams really had sat down and considered the plans, because nobody likes homework from the teacher. Neither do I, but I am the teacher in this case. Please read the plans, consider what they say, and it will accelerate the questions in your brain and the refinement. But more importantly, when you have that moment in the mud, per se, where the buyer's in front of you, the seller's in front of you, and they will come from all different contexts, friends, parties. Look at food, air, water, shelter. Where are you from? Oh, really? Yeah, I'm in the real estate business. Geez, we were thinking about selling. It's on the top of the list for conversations. So to be prepared on the fly is important, right? So Chris Egan, it's important to get your team and go through these things with them, even if you do one section. Gail's doing it, right? We know Gail's a great teacher for her crew. She's going through these things. Even if you take one section like pricing and you teach that 1 week. Next, Egan team meeting is about marketing, right? Whatever. You just go down the list. Cool?
Totally. And Alex, you had a out in the field scenario that you wanted to bring up?
Well, yeah, this is a fun one. So I've been at real estate for a little over 2 years now. You know, I got a sales background, and actually, I wouldn't say I fell into it, but you know, I was a transportation broker prior, then got into home flipping after I got out of logistics, and then realized I didn't need to be paying commission to a seller's agent. I had a seller's agent or listing agent rather, that wasn't doing the best job. Kind of sold us on a fantasy of what we could actually sell our flipped house for.
Yep.
So I had to end up becoming a contractor, in addition to staying and flipping, and then in addition to that, I had to become a realtor as well.
Yeah.
So long story short, we took the house down to the foundation, built it all back up, had to fire the listing agent, had to fire the contractor, put those two hats on. And then finally we had an open house, was still a little bit overpriced, and had a hit from a client, that, buyer's agent had brought through, and they basically wanted me to re-renovate the kitchen. And so I said, well, I can't do that for free. We ended up getting full price on the offer plus an additional $40,000 to make the deal happen.
Awesome.
But needless to say, it was one of those things. The house just wouldn't sell as it was, off the first get.
But Alex, you learned a very, very important part of pricing it right as your own seller and now as an agent, right?
Correct.
Here's that nefarious side of the business. You got sucked in by your own greed, right? Because
he told me what I wanted to hear.
You got
it.
it.
Was worth $1 million, but it wasn't.
You got it. You swallowed the hook whole, right? So now, having had that experience, that greed is an easy button to push. How, as a real estate agent, I'm going to ask this question of you. You know what happened to you. So now I'm sitting here as a seller, and I'm about to line up 5 people that I think are good, and I'm going to interview them all in a cattle call. And I know that you now know as an agent that somebody's going to go for that button, if not all of them. I call it a game of pricing it right bingo. Let's line up 5 of them. And the one that says the highest number, right, as long as it's not ridiculous, bingo, you won the listing. How would you deal with that knowing what you know now?
Well, it takes a willing buyer and a willing seller to make a deal. So you can ask for whatever you want, and I'm pretty direct with my clients about this. And sometimes they don't always listen, and let them learn the hard way. But mostly, you go in, you do your CMA, you make sure that you're pricing it out correctly, that you're going to have the right foot traffic, and you're within that correct price range. Within 3%, of what fair market dictates. And give it to them straight, because we can ask whatever we want for the house, but if it's priced out of reality, you can't make it happen.
Here's the best advice I can give you, because I've also had this problem and I solved it with a plan. I didn't go in and just say it on muscle. Instead, I created plans for them and evidence on top of those plans for them so that they would come to the conclusion that I needed them to come to so that we could get it done in the fastest amount of time at the highest dollar. So what I did was I said, okay, Well, it turns out the reality of selling a property doesn't start with marketing at all. That's the perception. The two major things that you hear on a regular basis, these misperceptions that wag the dog per se. Do you have buyers for my house? How are you going to market my house? Those are the two things that I heard forever. Okay. Well, the obvious part is that, well, who cares about those things until we care about pricing it right? So the number one first step in a plan for sellers is to consider the challenge of pricing a property correctly that will attract traffic, that will allow the marketing to accelerate the attention. Because the minute the pricing is wrong or outside the range, and I'm going to get into that word range, everything is rendered a moot point. Who cares now what you did to recondition it, like you found out? Who cares what kind of furniture you put in there to stage it? Who cares how pretty the pictures were, the drone photography? Who cares? Because nobody's coming. So that's a pricing problem. And it starts before they ever hire us. So what I did was I took time to become a pricing it right expert, or at least improve my skill set on pricing it right. I don't just do a CMA. I actually go in and by the way, everybody better wake up and understand that Zillow's entry into the business was based on the reason that they became a household name. They based it on trying to figure out how to price a house properly so that they could eliminate all of you. Me, you, us, them. That was their goal, whether they tell it to you or not. There was a mathematical algorithmic approach to saying, can we take big data, AKA assessed values, and later on MLS solds, and can we throw it into a mathematical style formula? Okay, a problem solving formula. That's what algorithms are. Can we throw that in there and spit out a close enough range? Well, their variance was up to 20%. And in my marketplace, it's now tight again, where the variance from the last asking price is only about 3%. So 20% versus what I can do for 3% in the market efficiency, duh, it's an easy one. But I didn't throw Zillow out. I didn't make Zillow's approach my enemy. As a former like junior Wall Street type of oriented guy, I went back and said, I wonder what big data they're using. Well, obviously, it's the assessed value and all that information that is attached to it, because that's public across the country. And it gets conglomerated in these places. So you just have somebody go and grab it and you throw it into whatever process you've designed and it spits out something. Now, what they can't do is they can't physically go to the home and they can't physically consider the condition. They can't consider the exact location. They can't see the view or not the view. All they can see is data. So the good news for us is that those physical adjustments that we make as in the field experts really will never be able to go away. So the idea is we can take big data, improve the skill set of refining that. But when you go into the home and you present the 7-step plan first, look, we've got to talk about pricing. I've brought some math with me today. We're not going to go over it yet, but we're going to go over it. First, you have to see the steps of the plan. And you're going to see that step 1 is how we consider the right asking price. And we can improve that asking price, or potentially where it's going to sell, by reconditioning things you're willing to recondition. And then once that's all done, we can set the space, get rid of your stuff, move furniture around, bring in a professional, whatever it is, so that then and only then we can begin the marketing by digitizing it, memorializing it on the best beautiful day to show the benefits of living here. Then we can syndicate that up to the internet, and then we can push market it around with open houses and digital marketing. That will lead to co-brokes calling me to show it with me, or me showing it directly. And if everything is right there, we'll get an offer. If it's not, we go right back up the list and we find out why not. Is it a condition issue? You just said yours was. Is it a staging issue? They can't see the space. They keep complaining. I had one at 2.6. They're complaining about the chimney. You know why? Because you don't have any furniture in the room. That's all they can see. They can't see the gorgeous view. Stage this room only. So you can look back because you're in that market making stage where there's feedback. If nobody calls to show it, it's immediately a pricing problem. And you're telling them this up front. Now, once we get an offer, no matter what it is, you always counter because we use the very math we're using here tonight to make the case for the highest price. Then we cross the T's and dot the I's to make sure the closing happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just like that. Now, if there's not any questions or there's a stone that I didn't turn over and you have some concerns about this process, you can let me know right here. Okay, great. Let's look at the statistics of what's selling. Nothing, by the way, is a comparable. Every house is slightly different from the other, but what we can do here tonight is look at what the money is buying in the price range you were hoping for, okay? And so you told me on the phone before I came over, you were hoping it was in the 550, 600 range. Wonderful. Let's us together see what the evidence suggests. Here's what that money bought. Now you've got pictures and details. He has one, she has one, they have one. Whoever the sellers are, all decision makers are there processing the data themselves, and they're bubbling up their own conclusion right in front of you. But if you are dictating to them, or as the ladies in my company say, please don't mansplain this to me, right? You are giving them information to empower their own decision so that they come to a similar conclusion. And that's the toughest moment in a presentation, right? So now the data is what it is, and we have to consider it. And only against that data do we make a starting point suggestion. We never make absolute statements. Well, it'll sell here, and here's what it's going. You don't mansplain or womansplain to anybody like that. You give them data, and you explain to them how it fits into the process and how that process will allow them. We have 3 sisters that inherited a house, and we walked the ladder, because they had a screwed up assessed value because it looks like a waterfront property, but you can't see the water. So we had to walk a process, but we kept going back to data. We said, look, while we've been on, you had data science that would say it would be up here. Thank you, Zillow Redfin, for agreeing that it was way wrong. You just exacerbated that. So I had to walk the steps, even though I could see no view. And by the time we finally got there, I said, look, ladies, here's what it's buying right now. Over the last 60 days where we've been on, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are better than us at that price. We go to the right price. We got multiple offers through multiple showings just like that, because it was all right in front of us from the very first time. And all I had to do was keep going back to data, and feedback from the market. And that's how you get better at that adjustment skill set. That help, Alex?
It absolutely did.
Yeah. And Chris, you will go into the technical analysis with him. You will show him that. You will show him the listing process, right? That's the idea. You have to teach everybody how to go through this process on your team. Got it?
Yep. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Next, what do we have? I'll go one more and then we'll call it a day. If anybody has a question, or I can go to Sam's call, Paul, if you're still there. Sam, you still there? Okay.
Hi, Danny, I'm still here.
All right. Just made it back. I was just about to 86.
No, I just couldn't unmute myself. I lost my screen.
Okay.
Oh man, it's not my best call. That's
Oh, man.
sure.
Oh, man. Yeah, but you had a good day yesterday. I liked your feisty Latina that came out of you. I liked it.
Well, I like to prove a point.
Yep. Yeah, but then,
So.
like I said to you, just so you all know, I'm kidding with Sam, who has now become my friend, and we care about her. And Autumn and I think she's the next up and coming telemarketing star. We're looking for that authentic voice from telemarketers and salespeople. And by the way, ironically, you lose your authentic voice, Sam, when we allow the consumer to wag the whole process, right? It's the concept of a tail wagging the dog. We're the professionals. So I want that strong woman, okay? My strong Latino voice that I heard yesterday, you and I had a laugh about, is that I want her to not be obnoxious, but whoa, wait a minute. I hear you, but let me tell you how this works. And let me just get this. That's the authoritative person I'm looking for. And you're beginning to tap into it. And what was frustrating you was a more tactical thing that Paul and I will work on next week, was that your expertise was being put on something in the wrong priority list. I said this with Jessica in Wisconsin. She was calling these like nebulous, like partial leads. This concept of a partial lead like makes me want to punch myself squarely in the face. Just thinking about that somebody even gives us that, right? Talk about the most whimsical waste of time. But the idea is, if we can prioritize, here are some real people. They walked through the open house. Here are some real people. They expired. Here are some real people. They're selling it themselves. Here are some real people. They referred to us. We always go to the most real first. And then if there's nothing else to do, and there always is, we go to stuff that we made a mistake on and allowed all this whimsical digital driven stuff into our world. Or we didn't qualify it well enough, even if it was a good lead. So that's a whole different process that Paul and I will work on. Okay, I want you to hear me say that. But you heard me about the second beat, which is where I'm looking for you to be connected to this plan. You need to read the plan. You cannot sell the value of the information unless you have read it, questioned it, understand it, right? There's no such thing. And what you said yesterday, I appreciated, but it was wrong. But Danny, that's a perfect segue to have me have Paul explain it. And it was like you were throwing the hot potato on the floor. You know what I mean? Can't do that. You need to own what you are giving them. And then you need to own that Paul, when he arrives, adds customization to it. We're going to give you the general plan that you better have, with or without Paul. Okay? That's what you want to say. With or without us at Cantu Group Real Estate, you need this plan, and I'm going to send you some pictures and details of properties that are relevant to your valuation. I'm going to send it to you. Now, because you have a big reason, I am also telling you, you'd be crazy not to have Paul come out and add his insights once he can see the property, add his insights to customize this for you, so you know exactly what to do and what not to do before going forward. Right, Sam?
Okay.
That's
right.
Own
I
that.
tried, but does it work? I don't know. Just listen to the call.
Yep. Okay. Well, you're just starting, so how could it work? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Oh, it's really quiet.
Hello.
There we go.
Hi there. Is
Was
this
it-
Mr. Wang?
Yes.
Hi, this is Sam. I'm calling from Cantu Group Real Estate. I'm calling because we saw your beautiful home online and we noticed it didn't sell. So we wanted to mail you something that will help you sell it the next time.
Oh, you can mail me anything. No problem.
Good. Keep going.
Okay, may I confirm the best mailing address? I have here it's 7637 39th Avenue South.
No.
No? What would be the best mailing address?
Listen to this now.
Um,
Why is it not the mailing
the
address?
mailing address. I mean, what home are you talking about?
For a property on 5775 Highland Drive
Yep.
in
That's
Bellevue?
married to that. That's married to that address.
Okay, perfect. And it looks like a great property.
What?
It looks like a great property. Why were you trying to sell it?
Yeah, I moved location.
Red alert. This is a red alert. That's what I was saying. The confusion about address changes. He has moved. Red alert. Got it?
Right.
Got it? Red alert. Red upsell. Paul, upsell. Right? And you're still rushing that. Wonderful. Let me get that in the mail to you. I'll call you next week to make sure you get it. Finish your beat. Stop rushing over that last line. Great. I'm going to send it to you. I'll call you next week to make sure you have it. But by the way, while I have you, okay, don't forget that. Right?
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, I'll send that over and I'll give you a call in a week just to make sure that you received it.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right, you miss. Red alert.
I know.
This
That's
is what
why
you
I said it
this,
wasn't my best call.
This is what you're working for. Red
Yeah.
alerts. Red alerts. You got everything you wanted to know. And this is why I don't want him doing these. Because see, you got too used now. See, this has created a bad habit. You're like, oh, I got it out. Paul, yep, Now, you see what I'm saying? You be careful what you wish for with me. I got you the job you wanted. I got him out of the way. So that's a red alert. Red alert. And you could all call him back and say, you know, I was just thinking, you told me that you had moved and we're going to send it to your house. I mean, did you want Paul to, you know, bring it to you and add some of his insights? I mean, but you don't even know why he moved. That's all you know.
Yeah.
What? So is it empty? Did you rent it? What's happening with it? Curiosity. Be human here. You lose your humanity and you go back to that. This is the snapback effect. You snap back to that telemarketer who's just checking boxes and being transactional. You're not building relationship. Did you hear what Autumn said earlier today? I talked to him for a half hour. Came out of her mouth today on this call. And is that a half hour I want her spending? Oh, hell yeah. Right? Because it's a really beautiful listing, exactly where we want it. So whatever it takes, right? If the majority of a shift got eaten up because she's that deep, I'll take it, right? So you're skipping over what you've been looking for in these calls. Slow down. You're going too fast again, right? Here we go. Second call, and then we're going to call it a day.
Hello?
Hello. Hi, is this Mr. Wong?
Yes, speaking.
Hi, this is Sam. I'm calling from Cantu Group Real Estate. I'm calling because we saw your beautiful home online and we noticed it didn't sell. So we wanted to mail you something that will help you sell it the next time. May I do that?
If you want to email it to me, sure.
No, it would be in the mail. So can I confirm the best mailing address?
So I'm out of the country, and I won't be able to come back to the country for a while.
Ooh. Red alert.
Email.
Red alert. Red alert. Another one. Red alert. I'm out of the country and I'm not coming back for a while. Red alert. Two of them back to back. Let's see where you go with this one.
I have an address, yeah.
All right. What would be the best email?
bingcwong@yahoo.com. BINGCWONG@yahoo.
And is that the... Yes, this is from Seattle.
Cantu?
Yes, from Cantu Group Real Estate.
What do you guys do?
Oh,
Selling
delicious. Like this is like everything you hope for. What do? He's saying what makes you unique. He wants your message. We talked about this yesterday, right? You follow me?
Yeah, I get it.
He wants your message. The seller wants your message. You are ready to turn him into a prospect. You already got the yes. Email it to me. So he's an information prospect. We're close to maybe Paul being able to go see the property. Now, the guy's overseas, but maybe Paul can get in to see it. You're right there. These two calls are everything we fight for, right? Let's see what happens.
I've never really heard of Cantu.
Yeah, selling in mine. Well, there is a lot of brokerage here. Is the reason that you want to sell?
No, Don, what do you mean? You're dismissing him. Oh,
No.
Paul, this is what I've never heard of Cantu. Oh, Paul's been in the business for a long time. So you have to know how to sell us too. It's a long time. He owns his own firm. You know, we're a small boutique style firm, but he's been in a long time. Is this property near you? Our office is here, right? Come on to grab onto something here. You're dismissing him. No, like, and
I
I
tried. Just put the call on.
yeah, you hold on. You didn't try. Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. I know it's painful to take the critique, but this is the good critique. Well, you're into the second beat. This is what you wanted. So you're going to have to sweat through this. Okay.
Right.
You need to recognize in both of these calls, red alert, and you need to listen. Okay. You got to listen, because when you go off of the one that you can just say they react, that's beat one. But the second one is you're listening. Really? You're overseas? Be curious. Be human. What are you doing overseas? How'd you end up there? Oh, Cantu Group. Well, yeah, we've been around for a long time. And you'll see when we send you the information, I'll send you a link, to a background about Paul, right?
Right.
Think, right? You stop thinking here. Here we go.
Because you're far away?
Oh, shoot. Don't stop me. Hang on. I got hung up. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can fast forward it. I know where I'm at in the call. Unfortunately, just got hung up there. But you got my point here, right? Sam?
Right.
Sam?
Yeah,
Sam?
I'm sorry.
You got my point here, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So after that, I asked him if the reason he wanted to sell is because he was far away. And he said, yes, I wanted to get cash out it, or something like that.
Okay, hang on.
And
Let me see if I can get him
I
again.
tried booking the call with Paul, and he said, you know
Hello?
what? I really want to see what you guys
Hello. Hi.
want to sell me for. Oh, okay.
Oh, let me see.
No, I just want to cash out possibly. If not,
Uh-huh.
I'll keep renting it. Basically, it's been a rental.
It's been a rental. And is it a year lease or is it month to month?
Right now, the tenant moved out, so I was trying to sell it. But then, if I don't get the right price, then I'll continue to rent it out.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Well, we can email you. Also, do you have any time maybe this week or weekend? I can have my managing broker and also owner of the company give you a call just for him to give you your insights in today's market.
Sure. Why don't you email me first, and then
Good.
I'm not sure. I guess maybe some information about your company.
Good. Good. You're there.
Yeah, absolutely. But just for us to
Take a look
call
at
you
it.
and not get you like at a busy time, around this time is the best time to give you a call.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Perfect.
All right, enough. Good. That's good. That's the more human thing, right?
Right.
Listen. No, I just want you to send me the stuff first. Let me vet you. He's saying, let me vet you. Let me figure out who you people are first. But he's not hanging up. He's agreeable. He's agreeable. And you finally get more human at the end. You've got to be a human being in the second beat, right? It's a lot of asking, listening, reacting, right? In the first beat, you say they react. You say they react, you close. The next one is you ask, you listen, you react, you upsell if it's there. That's it. So like you'll get used to this like a tennis match and it'll smooth out. But just remember, it's more very back and forth in the first beat. Wonderful. I'll email it to you. And then, if you could confirm that you receive it, that would be great. Stop. Next, by the way, you told me you're renting it. I mean, are you tied up there for a long time? And it's the same crap with all these people. If I could get the right number, well, great. Let's figure out what it really will sell for, and we'll see if it matches to your number. If it doesn't, keep it. Right?
Right.
So there you go. All right. I do have to call it a day. I'm OT. Thank you, Sam, for closing the show with some telemarketing. Thank you to the both Alexes and the both Chris's for being in the hot seat with some real anecdotes. And to Autumn, who continues to press up the mountain with me. And we learn more and more. We share it with you here every week. Go out and practice this stuff. If you're an agent and you're not doing open houses, I'm mind blown. Okay. I'm just mind blown because if I do them and you're not, you can already see the problem between why I have success and you're not with buyers. If you're not getting into listing conversations, got to figure out how to do that. Okay. So there you go. Go practice this. As you know, I'm not just the teacher. I do this too. So I'm not making it up and I know how to help you, but you got to listen to me and make it my problem. When you just cherry pick it and don't go do the action steps, you know where I'm going to go with that one. And on that note, good work, everybody. See you next week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye, Adam.